Brilliant.
Cool.
Over to you, Anna. Thank you.
All right, awesome. So yeah, the first question I actually had was, who is using an internal developer platform right now? Nobody. 1, 2. Okay, cool. Who knows what an IDP is? Cool. We got some people in the crowd. Nice. You should put your hand up. You told me you knew what it was. So before we start, I wanted to get some of the acronyms out of the way. There's 2 types of internal developer IDPs. Now the first one is a IDP, which is internal developer platform. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And the other one is an internal developer portal. And we'll also kind of cover some of those topics. Now, fantastic. Cool. So yeah, internal developer platforms that deliver. So the first part I wanted to talk about is what is the frustrations that our developers experience. Now I'm guessing with the name of DevOps London, there's a lot of DevOps engineers in the room. Who's a DevOps engineer? Good. Now, who talks to the developers that they work with? Okay, cool. So you probably heard about the complaints that they usually have. And to be honest with you, some of them are fair. We have good reasons why we give them those concerns, but the typical things that we hear is slow onboarding. It takes a long time to get set up and start developing and start being productive. We hear things about it being complicated, giving them Terraform or anything like that, and handing it back over to them, they're managing it and doing that. There's a lot of cognitive load. They struggle with that. That's why they're continuously coming back and asking us for help. Manual handoff. How do they talk to us? You have to set up a ticket. We'll come in. We'll support them. We go back. We'll speak to them the next time they're next on the list. So they're waiting. And hopefully not in a lot of situations. You've got environments that have drift. And all of that together, you collide all of that together. That's when you end up with slow delivery. You end up with developer frustration, and in the worst cases, you end up with shadow IT. Everyone's who's familiar with the term shadow IT? That's when people go off and just figure things out by themselves in an unsecure place, and that's usually when you start having real bad things happening. But obviously we want those developers to come to us. That's our job, right? We want to be able to serve the developers in the best way that we can. And I guarantee you all here, no one wants to be doing the repetitive jobs that sometimes they ask us to do. Now, in an ideal world, how would we want this to look? If we had a magic wand and we were like, how could we solve this problem in the best way possible? What would we want? We would want, I don't know, faster onboarding. Maybe instead of 2 weeks or 10 days, instant. They want to get onboarded. Hey, presto, you got everything you need to get productive. Why not? It's possible. It should be a reality. Simple deployments. Now, I understand that we can't expect developers to understand how to use Terraform and Kubernetes and all of those type of things, but we can abstract some of those things away, and we can put it in a simpler, in simpler terms using templates where they can make those configurations and get productive. Self-service. If they want something like a database or an S3 bucket, they should be able to get it now. They shouldn't have to wait, and then whenever we have time to go do it. If they need it, we should do it. We are DevOps engineers, and we're all about automation. We need to put that into our work, and that's what these are some of the things that an IDP will cover. Now, if we are going to do self-service, and we are going to give the developers the ability to go and get anything that they want, any cloud resource that they want, we're going to have to be able to set guardrails in, because it's going to be chaos otherwise. So getting all of these guardrails in together and putting all of this stuff together is going to really build out a good scenario. Now, this is an ideal world, but that actually exists. This is actually what's in the market right now. There are internal developer platforms that teams have built that achieve these things, and it's great. And we'll talk about some of the results that they get. So I'm going to read this off the screen. An internal developer platform is a self-service platform that was built by platform engineering teams that enables developers to build, deploy, and operate applications fast and more safely without the needing to understand complex infrastructure requirements. Okay. Now the key words in here is safe. So giving them self-service, but also giving it to them in a safe way, which obviously creates it to be fast. So for those, so this is my whiteboard. If it's really like primitive, please forgive me. But developer wants infrastructure. Now, that's great, we will get that. They need to have a safe place to land. Now, who's heard of landing zones? Cool, loads of people have heard of landing zones, great. Now there's loads of things about landing zones, and I only have half an hour, so I'm not going to be able to get into all of it. But I'll give a small introductory what a landing zone is. Now, the idea that I'm coming across here is developer gets internal developer platform and gets everything that they need to go. But the reality is, it's not that simple. An internal developer platform is not just a single solution that solves all your problems immediately. It doesn't work like that. It's actually broken down to several tools. And the two that I'm really going to focus on is first, your orchestration tool. Now there's several parts in this. This is actually, your orchestration tool is actually the brain of your internal developer platform. Now, inside that, obviously, you're going to need to have an API for communication. You're going to need to have access control and policies to protect the things that we're creating to make sure that it doesn't all break down. We're going to need to have a catalog of these cloud resources that we're going to provide to our developers. And then we're also going to have state management. Okay? Now, for those who have built internal developer platforms, I have not listed everything over here. We haven't talked about the controllers and all of these exciting things. But hopefully, we get the idea of what these are the three main things. And for anyone who's wondering what the state is, it's just making sure that whatever we say is up is still up, and we can make adjustments if anything happens. Now, with all of that, with the orchestration tool being there, you can interact with that orchestration tool in any way that you want to. You have that API, you can access it through a UI, a CLI, or anything else. A code editor extension, whatever it may be, you can access it. And that's the second part that we'll talk about. That's the other IDP, that's the internal developer portal part of it. So those are the two parts. And I guess the point I'm trying to make here is an internal developer platform is the whole thing, and an internal developer platform is one small part of it. In fact, there's a lot more to an internal developer platform. These are all of the different things that go into it. Now, we could have pulled out any one of these tools, like Argo CD, we could have pulled it out and replaced it with something else. But for the time being, the most important part is kind of understanding that there's a lot that goes into an internal developer platform, all the way into what IDP you're using. We'll touch on this later when we talk about how we set one up. But for now, just realize it's not one tool, it's many, many tools. So the first part is what is a landing zone. The way I've structured this talk is I'm going to talk about what the developer gets first, and then we'll talk about how we enable these things. And bearing in mind I've got 30 minutes, so I hope I can get through all of this. So a landing zone. Now, when someone taught me what a landing zone was, they gave me a really good metaphor, and it really sticks with me, and I hope I can share it with you guys and it will stick with you. Imagine you're a soldier and you're in a helicopter and you need somewhere safe to land. Now, you can't land on the sea because it's dangerous and the sharks, and you can't land in enemy territory because you'll get shot, so you have to have something that's set up, a base, a safe place to land. Now, inside this base, you want to make sure that, one, it's safe, but also you have everything that you need, maybe some food, some water, and everything else. Maybe connectivity to communicate with anyone from home or whatever else it may be. And that's the same thing that we're doing with these developers. We're taking them and putting them on the cloud, but we're putting them in the cloud somewhere safe, somewhere secure. And the important part of that is so that those developers don't do something that they wouldn't be happy about doing, maybe breaking something or spending incredible amounts of money that they didn't mean to. So that's the first part. We're going to be figuring out how we get a safe place to put these developers. And the second part is, oh, sorry, I had these emojis for a reason. We need to make sure that they have all the equipment that they need. Now, maybe a soldier needs, I don't know, a walkie-talkie. A developer needs GitHub, some pipelines for him to get on the road. Less exciting, right? So let's talk about the next part. Obviously, the cloud resources. Now, inside an internal developer platform, you're going to have a catalog of resources that you're going to allow your developers to use. So a team of you are going to build a package, build a module Terraform module, for example, and you're going to put all the guardrails and you're going to make sure it's all really safe, and you're going to publish it to the community to use. That's for everyone to use. And that could be anything. That could be you know, Helm, and you've got all of your Kubernetes stuff in there, or that could be Terraform and it's got all of your, you know, AWS resources in there. But basically, you guys approve things, you work together, you make sure it's safe, and you publish it, and now everybody consumes it. And yeah, you can build anything that you want. Now, I put this here to remind myself it's time to do an actual demo. So I made a small little demo for you guys, and inside of this demo we're going to be using some open source tools. I do not necessarily recommend any of these tools, but they're just something I wanted to put together to show you. I also didn't make it super fancy, so like you get to see something that's really well polished and perfect. I built something quickly so you can see where you can get really fast. And the tool that I've decided to use is Backstage. Who's heard of Backstage? Cool, Backstage is a cool tool, right? Yeah, it's a difficult tool. Backstage, this is customer feedback. I guess you didn't get to see what I got to see. Okay, cool. So you're a developer and you want to create something. You want to get onboarded. You want to be productive. You've been given a task and you need to get started. Maybe you've got a cool little microservice that you need to publish. You have a safe place where you can come into, and there's stuff available for you. One of those things is I can create a software template. Now, a software template is something that the platform team or DevOps engineers have approved for us to use. So I'm going to come in here, and they have exactly what I need. I need a Node application, and I also need a AWS RDS database. So all I have to do is I can select the resource that I want. I'll give it a name, a real nice creative one, and I will choose my workspace that I've been associated with. Now, for those that are very inclined, they're probably wondering, well, how did you know what workspace that was? We'll get into that in the next part. That's the orchestration, kind of knowing who you are and figuring out what permissions you have. And yeah, the next part, it knows I need a production and non-production environment. It's immediately put me in a safe path. Instead of just publishing straight away, we can select a non-prod environment and a prod environment. These are two clusters. I'm going to be able to cut myself a namespace. So again, when we were talking about those landing zones, you could have a landing zone which is a whole AWS account, or it could be a namespace in a multi-tenanted cluster. Two safe places for you to start building. Now I get to do some configuration for my database. How big do I want my database? 10 sounds fine. And we can choose the type of machine that we want as well. Cool. I'm good. The only thing left for me to do is for me to put my name of my GitHub repository. Now, I've put really simple questions, and suddenly I'm about to have access into a safe place for me to start developing. I've got a non-production environment, a production environment, and I should be good to go. Now, again, you guys are all DevOps engineers. You know the complexity that goes into here. There's an environment that's been created. I need to have access to that environment. A GitHub repo needs to get made. Then I need to make sure that GitHub has permissions to be able to access it. Then I have to make a pipeline. And then I have to build all the infrastructure. There's so many things that beginning onboarding process took. But you can automate it. If you built it once, you could build it and save it for everyone to use. Now, the gods of live demos have blessed me, and it's working. Thank God. So we can jump over here, and it's given us some nice places for us to go. So next steps, they can give me, I can read up on something on next steps. I can go to my repositories. I can have a look at the catalog and see everything that's been created. And I can also go look at the Wayfinder documentation, which is another tool. It's an orchestration tool. It's actually one that we build at Appvia. But I promised that I wasn't going to make it all about that. So I'll leave that for a side. So let's jump into the repo. So this repo has been created. I can actually go into the settings of this, and I can see that I've got all of the secrets necessary for me to be able to do everything that I need to do. So that's communicating with the orchestration tool to be able to deploy the resources in wherever it needs to be built. And I can also see that I've got all the pipelines set up. So I've got all the pipelines set up. Everything is ready for me. Now, so if I wanted to start developing, all I have to do So jump in, start making any changes that I wanted. And let's just say I wanted to break out into a new branch. And I publish that branch. Maybe I need a PR environment. Well, all of those pipelines are set up for that, so I could have a PR environment that I could work with, because that software template has really put all of those pipelines in place instantly. So the next part is it's actually going to build that. So it's going to go into, let's go back here. And those pipelines are going to run, and it's going to do two things. One, it's going to build our image. So we've got Docker running, Docker's building out our image, all of that's working well, and we are also going to be able to publish this all the way into our development environment. So that developer has started off by going onto Backstage, choosing a software template, and has immediately got everything he needs. All he needs to do is just start coding now, which is great. And we could also go back into Backstage, and we could go into the resource that's been created. It can visualize and show us all the different components that have been created. We've made an integration with Wayfinder, which for some reason isn't working right now. 1 second, refresh the page. Come on. Yeah, we could go into that page and we could see the resources that have been created. It's going to tell us the status of it, and it's also going to give us a URL for our application. With a quick click, I can see that my application is up and everything is working well. So that's the first part. Cool. So that's helpful. That's useful. Developer started off with nothing. Use Backstage, has something ready to develop. What are the benefits that we saw? Faster time to shipping. He's ready to go. No need to create a ticket, no need to do any of that. He gets to focus on the code. It's peace of mind. He knows that there's guardrails in place to prevent him from doing anything wrong, because everything's kind of been written perfectly for him. There's less tool chain, there's less crazy tools that are everywhere. The platform team have worked together to make sure we've got the right tools in the right places, and because it's not abstracted and there's loads of different teams doing everything, you don't have to worry about something being set up halfway. There's a whole team beside us who are building that all out. And yeah, of course, we empower the teams to take care of their full life cycle of their product. So to set this thing up, now to move into building an internal developer platform, it really, really matters about how you work, okay? Now, you can't work the way you used to work. You might have to change. Let's think about how we typically work. Who understands the concept of decentralized and centralized ways of working? Yeah? Cool. Okay, for those that don't, there's two ways of working. You have a decentralized way, which is you have an application team, and you come on board with them and you solve all of their problems individually as a person. It's great. You're a skilled guy. You can fix everything that they need, and you've solved the problem. The next person goes and solves the next application in a completely different way. The problem is now you both have to maintain your two different solutions. When you scale that across loads and loads of applications, you've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different ways of solving the same problems, and you have to maintain them all. It's difficult, it's hard, you don't want to be part of it. So you have to move. If you're going to build an internal developer platform, you're going to have to move into a centralized way of working. And this is kind of where we hear the term platform engineer. Who's heard of that term? Yeah, it's becoming more popular, and this is what it's all about. It's literally just, it's all the same skills. It's literally the same person. It's just what type of hat you wear. Now, if you wear the hat where you jump into a team as an individual, then you're a DevOps engineer. If you jump into the hat and you're like, we're all gonna come together, we're gonna build a really great platform, we give them services, you're a platform engineer. Now, platform engineers build platforms. And I'm so sorry, I know this is the London DevOps meetup, so don't kick me out for talking about platform engineering. That's the last I'll say of it. And this is the thing, right? It's really important to stay focused. If you go all the way to decentralized, it's chaos. Everyone's doing everything that they want to do. And it's fast, but it's chaos and it's hard to maintain. But then if you move all the way over here into centralized, it's slow, and anything that you want is just gonna it takes forever, and it might not be right for everybody. So you have to find this middle boundary. You have to find a middle place in between the way that you work, whether it being centralized or not centralized, to actually make it work. Because being super centralized is the anti-pattern. I hope that made sense. See, we want to be in the middle, and can we imagine what the middle looks like? So the middle is a place where you're speaking to your customers, you're speaking to the community, you're giving them the things that they need, and you're also allowing them to contribute and help. So if I'm a platform team and I don't want anyone to touch anything in this platform, I'm really precious about it, it's going to be really slow. But if I allow developers to contribute and add to it and take their stuff on board, I'm going to grow faster. It's like when you make something open source and you let everybody contribute. That's probably the middle place in this. The next way is it's cross-functional. Now, I said we're going to give self-service. If we're going to give self-service, it has to be responsible. What are the two things that we have to be responsible for? Cost, of course. Cloud is expensive. She works in AWS, so so I'm sure you don't mind. But
developer spins its own instance of database, right?
yeah, exactly. That's what you're telling me. Larger. So yeah, it's cost. That's the first part. If you're going to build a platform team, don't make it just a bunch of DevOps who turn into platform engineers. Get some people who understand FinOps, get them involved, get the tagging, get all of those good things in place, get the monitoring, all of that in place. And we could talk ages about just that part. And then you go into security. If we're going to publish a reusable resource for everybody to use, let SecOps come in and make sure that everything's up to scratch. Not only is the modules that you're going to create and publish going to be safe, but even the environments that get created, the landing zone is going to be safe. We're going to prevent things like, I can't even think, for some reason I can't even think of something. What would we prevent people from doing? There's so many different things. I don't know, for example, making databases public. That's a no-go. Whatever you try to publish, if anybody tries to publish any databases that are public, it gets immediately rejected. Things like that. Let them get involved early and build it together, because then you're going to have something good. And the final thing is have a product mindset. And what the hell does that mean? But having a product mindset is all about understanding who your customer is. When you build something, you build it for somebody. Who is our customers as DevOps engineers or platform engineers? It is the developer. We have to talk to them. We have to understand their needs. And we should be in constant communication when we're building a platform. 2, get feedback. Find out what the biggest problems are. Understand what those things are. And then finally, and this is the most important part, and if any of you are going to build a platform, please take this one seriously. Do not over-engineer. Just solve the problems that matter quickly and move on. It's okay, because adoption is what matters, and getting momentum is what matters. If you're going to, the worst thing you could do is spend a year, 2 years building an amazing platform, and then by the time you built it, all of the resources are no longer necessary, and yeah. Anyway. That's ways of working. I'm just looking at, am I good for time? The next part is what makes up an IDP. So this is the toolkit. So we've got several parts of an internal developer platform, and I'll give you guys a chance to take a picture of this. It's commonly, you can find this anywhere on the internet as well, but you've got a developer control plane. This is everything that the developer touches. This is your IDP, this is your version control, this is your portal, this is what the developer touches. Then you have your integrations and delivery plane. This is your CI/CD section, this is your registry. Again, you guys will know about all of this stuff. So I probably won't go into too much. The main parts I want us to focus on is the orchestration and the developer and the portal, because those are the parts that are actually different to the way that we're probably working every single day, right? Well, you guys already know about this. I don't need to tell you anything about any of this other than those 2 bits. So let's talk about it. So what is an orchestration tool? So again, the orchestration is the brain of your platform. That's the place where you're going to store your catalogs. That's where you're going to put your policy. That's where you're going to put your RBAC and all of the rules and everything like that. This is where you're going to be able to manage who gets access to what. And I put a shameless plug in here of Wayfinder. Wayfinder is an orchestration tool. Yeah, and that's the first part. That's the important bit. Now, you could use Wayfinder, or you could build one yourself. There's loads of different ways to do it. You could use open source tools, and I could recommend you options. There's a tool like Terranetes. You could put it in a Kubernetes cluster, and I actually have a diagram at the end where, if you want to build one yourself, if you're interested, I can show you how to do it. And the other part is the portal side. Now, the one thing I want to mention, I am showing you a bunch of portals here, and they're all great, but they also have their own caveats. Now, Backstage is the example that I gave, but for you to get Backstage working, you're going to need to know infrastructure first, and then you're going to need to know TypeScript, and there's a lot of development involved in it. It's going to take you a long time, and then finding the collection of skills together that actually can do that is not easy. So the argument that I would make is, do you even need a portal? Do you? Is it 100% necessary? Could a CLI achieve everything that you need? Maybe you care about the documentation. Maybe you just care about the discoverability of the APIs. Maybe that's the stuff that matters. But also, we're talking about developers here. They're very comfortable with the CLI. And if that means that your product's going to be adding the most value, which is actually the orchestration and all of that part, then maybe you don't need to do that, at least for the first trial, whilst you're getting your feedback and you're building. There's some other tools here like Portal. Portal is also a great tool. I think they have a free trial. You guys can have a look at that. But obviously, Portal is something that you have to pay for, and it can be expensive depending on the size of your organization. So really making a good decision here is really important. Again, this is a reminder for me to do a demo. I will do that demo. But one thing I wanted to talk about first is whether or not a portal is right for you guys. Sorry, a platform is right for you. Now, if you are in a situation where you are building unique scenarios for every single developer and development team, then don't get it. It's gonna be an anti-pattern. You're gonna have loads of one-use templates that only gets used once. It's a bad idea. Focus on just being decentralized and working with them and communicating and making sure that you're sharing within your team. That could be enough. Could be. Good communication with your peers is very important to kind of stop some of these problems. The next part is if you have developers who have control issues, or they want to be in control. And if they do want to be in control, there's nothing wrong with that. If you have an incredible group of developers who want to be able to do whatever they want to do, and they don't want any guardrails, and they don't want to do any of that, and you have that trust with them, and in the company that you work with, you don't need it. When do you need it? If you're finding yourselves creating the same resources again and again and again and again, which is boring for us. I worked in the home office when I just started, and I was a support. I have created more S3 buckets than anyone here. Guaranteed.
In the home office.
Oh, I think I created at least 1,000. This is insane.
They must have been tearing the hair out.
Yeah, it was frustrating. And the pipelines would take like an hour. Oh, it was a bad time.
That's why it's broken right now.
If the other one is if security is important and you want to make sure that things are right and everyone's following compliance, if you've got compliance needs and stuff like that, a platform is a good way of going forward. I only had half an hour, right? I'll quickly wrap this up, then I'll skip that last demo. The final parts that I'll say is you should be measuring the success, and the way that you measure success is developer onboarding, cost optimization. Are you saving and reducing costs? Security and compliance. Is everything safer now? Is all the infrastructure that's being created, is it actually better? And if it's not, then you're not solving the problems you designed to build. And it's really important because people build sometimes, no one in the room, sometimes people build cool stuff because it's cool. We have to remember we're building stuff to solve a problem, and we have to be aligned to these things. If it's not aligned to these things, then we're doing stuff wrong. And then finally, is it making us more efficient? Are we stopping ourselves from doing the repetitive tasks and then building really cool stuff, or are we still finding ourselves to be inefficient? So yeah, I'll probably stop here because I'm looking at the time. But thank you all for your time, and I hope you guys got some good value from that.
Lots of truth bombs there. Loving that, loving that. Thank you so much. Brilliant. Okay, let's get Dennis up. Amir, could we just
Yep.